Hey, Juan Carlos, good to see you today.
Good to be seen. Good to see you, Jim.
Folks at First-Plymouth, Juan Carlos Juertas is our new Minister of Proclamation and Practice of Justice, and he's joining us August 1st. But we thought we would jump onto Facebook so we can all get to know him a little better. Juan Carlos, I'm glad you're here, and I want to ask you the same questions we ask every new member at First-Plymouth. When we gather at the first new member class, we say, where were you born? What religion did you grow up in? And what do you love to do in life?
I love those questions. The easiest one is the first one in some ways. I was born in Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. And Rio Piedras is a little suburb or a big suburb of San Juan, which is the capital city. And so that's where I was born. And I was in Puerto Rico until I was about 14 years of age, and then moved to Louisiana. And that's another story for another day. And I think the second question was my religion that I grew up in. So I grew up in a Christian tradition called the Christian and Missionary Alliance. It's an evangelical tradition that started in New York City. And my father was a pastor in that tradition. And so that's the Christian faith that I grew up in, and became a United Methodist in college. So, and then what do I love to do? Well, there's two things. I like to read. I'm a voracious reader. I think you and I, Jim, have talked about this before. But I also love to cook. And so on most days here in Houma, Louisiana, I get in the kitchen and I'm the cook for the family. So my spouse, Shannon, who's a psychotherapist, works 9-hour days. And so I gather the family and the three kids, Isabel and Lucas are our two youngest children. And then our oldest is Seth, who is 17. So I cook for the family. And then on most days, we try to gather around the table together. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, that's wonderful. So each time we pop up on Facebook, I'm also going to ask you some spiritual or theological questions so that folks can get to know your sensibility and your theology. But first then, let me just ask you, how did you become a minister?
So I grew up in a parsonage. My father was a pastor of a local church when I was growing up. He was a youth pastor first when I was about 5 years old. I remember Daddy as a youth pastor, and then he became a pastor of a local congregation when I was about 7 or so. And so I grew up in a parsonage, and I don't know about your kids, sons, Jim, but I was one of those that said I will be anything but a pastor. And when you grow up in a parsonage, you kind of see some of that underbelly of pastoral life. But then as a junior in high school, I woke up one morning and just had this, I knew that there was nothing else I would want to do with my life.
Wow.
And at first, it wasn't preaching that caught my attention. That came later. But it was this idea of companioning people in journeying through life around meaning and God. And I love the text of Scripture deeply, and the stories there spoke to me of my story. And so I felt this kind of pull to be part of the journey with people. And then the things that the markers of life, the weddings and the baptisms and the funerals and the celebrations, the heartbreaks and the joys, and being a companion with folks around those really just captured my imagination. And although there have been the ups and downs of calling, I've always gone back to knowing that this is God's call for my life. I'm a pastor. It's who I am. And so it's exciting to continue this vocation with y'all.
Well, Juan Carlos, we're so excited to have you as a new minister at First-Plymouth starting August 1st. But meanwhile, you and I are going to pop onto Facebook once in a while like this and have little conversations. And it's just good to see your face today.
It is good to see your face. Cannot wait to be with you all and the team in Lincoln. We're going to have a lot of fun together.